What is happening, webheads, comic book fans? I am Mike Spider Slayer, and welcome back to Comic Book Corner 2.0. And today, guys, I am bringing you another episode of After the Poll. That's right, guys. This is the video series to see if some of my most highly anticipated comic books live up to the hype. Now, so far this week, I have read 6 comic books, and we're going to count them down from number 6 all the way to number 1. So let's not hesitate any further, guys. Let's get started with this week's episode of After the Poll. Coming in at number 6 to kick things off, we have Gambit. This is issue 1. Now, I've been really tired of all the X-Men stuff, and I was looking for this nostalgia-like series to get me excited about the X-Men, or at least the old school X-Men, and this one had to do with Gambit. Now, Gambit's not my favorite X-Men character, but he's still pretty cool. I love his power set, and I thought, you know what? Chris Claremont's writing this book, so he knows how to write the mutants. I mean, he wrote them forever, right? Unfortunately, this book did not deliver. This was a story that was basically Gambit babysitting Storm. Now, this story takes place between basically issues 266 and 267. The artwork in this book was okay, very cartoonish style of artwork, but I just thought this book would be a lot more, I don't know, intense or more serious than what it was. But basically, it was, again, Gambit just showing a young Storm on how to pickpocket, how to live on the streets, and whatnot. Now, you're probably wondering, well, why is he babysitting her? Well, in that time frame, she actually lost her powers by, was it Orphan Maker and whatnot, and she was de-aged. So that's why Gambit is forced to babysit her and try to help her live out on the streets, and them two teaming up together. For me, this was just a very lackluster issue. I thought that Chris Claremont could have done something completely different with this, maybe made Gambit a little bit more badass, or actually do an adventure that meant something, and it just didn't feel that way. In fact, this felt more of a Storm issue than a Gambit issue to me. So if you were looking on this to, you know, get into the X-Men again, or looking forward to something with the X-Men, I think that this is not the book, guys. So I say, personally, I would say skip Gambit issue 1. Coming in at number 5, this one goes to AntMan issue 1. This is celebrating 60 years of the character. Now, Al Ewing did something very creative here. He made this first issue of this new series like a silver-aged comic book. Everything about it is like silver-aged. The drawings, the writing. I mean, he even brought back narration boxes and thought bubble boxes, and I thought that was very creative. This book opens up in some kind of distant future, as there is this futuristic Ant-Man trying to find Hank Pym from the past. I want to say from probably the 60s or maybe even the 70s. I'm not 100% sure here, but here it opens up, and you get to see on the left here, we get to see the futuristic Ant-Man as he's searching for Hank Pym. And here we get the very first page of the real story. And right from the start, you can see that it has that classic style of art. And not only does it have the classic style of art, like I said, it's got the font in there, it's got thought bubbles in there, and I thought that was very creative. Even the artwork is an old school style. The way the characters speak in here is very old school. And it was very hysterical. I laughed all the way through. And there's a lot of dialogue in this book, a lot of story, just like how old school comics used to be written. So the way they did this comic was awesome. They nailed what they were going for here. Basically, though, in the major part of this story, the meat of this story was all about Hank Pym's rogues gallery going after him, and then we get to see Janet, who tries to save him. They went on a date with the movies, and like I said, she's left hanging there, and the ants are calling for Janet's help, and yeah, it's just a fun little story to get to the end of the book, to get to the cliffhanger, because by the time we wind up getting to the end of it, you wind up seeing this futuristic Ant-Man come into play that is looking for the Silver Age Ant-Man because he needs his help, and we get to see that futuristic Ant-Man right here. So that's what you're left with, the cliffhanger. So, you know, if you were bored by the overall story in the beginning, well, it's not always going to be about that. It looks like that Hank Pym is going to go on an adventure with this new Ant-Man, but they just want to hit that nostalgia feel or that 60s or 70s feel for the reader for this very first issue. So my hat's off here to Al Ewing for doing something a little bit different, right? And for longtime comic book fans, you might appreciate this first issue. So let's see what happens in the second issue. Coming in at number 4, we have Robin. This is issue 16, the penultimate issue. That's right, guys. This bad boy is going to end on issue 17, and this series that Joshua Williamson has written has been stellar. I love the very first issue ever since he's entered the Lazarus Island and has done this fight to the death type of situation, Mortal Kombat style, and the artwork is just as good in this book. It's so pretty to look at. The characters look great. We got introduced to characters like Respawn. He was in the Shadow War. He most recently got killed. Will we see him again? I don't know. Maybe we will. This is comic books, of course, and you know, this is the Lazarus Island and whatnot, so we'll see. But the last issue, we wind up getting to see Lord Deathman come to the shores of the Lazarus Island. Now, you're probably wondering, why is Damian there? Well, this has basically become his base of operations now, and people are looking to Lazarus Island as a safe haven to try to change their life around. And the one thing that I liked about this book and what Joshua Williams done with Damian is he added a little bit more layers to the character. He's not just some pissed off little teenager anymore. He's actually trying to figure himself out. He's growing up a little bit. He's establishing friendships, and one of those friendships is Flatline, and Lord Deathman comes to the shores of Lazarus Island, and he says Flatline is basically gotten possessed by some demon and she's trying to kill me. So this is some kind of obvious trap, right? So what does Damian do? He takes Hawk with him and they go exploring to find out if this is true or not. But what this does is this kind of leaves the Lazarus Island exposed. And Lord Deathman kind of wants this island for himself, and he meets up with a love interest by the time you wind up getting to the end of this book. I love this book overall. It's so much fun. The reason why, though, it's not higher on my list this time around, guys, is just because I felt like there was a little bit of lack of story progression, and I don't know how this series is going to end in one more issue, right? But nevertheless, it's always an entertaining read. I definitely recommend Robin. If you've never read an issue of this before, see if you can find it out in a trade or whatnot. I think you would really enjoy this story. Great stuff here, guys. Okay, so moving on to number 3. I don't know how you guys will feel about this, but I've had some messages that people actually enjoyed Amazing Spider-Man issue 900, or otherwise known as issue 6. Now, for me, I don't think this is the best story I've ever read or the best milestone issue I have ever read, but just because it's a milestone issue doesn't always mean that something significant has to happen in the story. It's okay to celebrate a character without having anything big happen, right? So in this book, you don't get the John Romita Jr. artwork. Now, I can't keep this book open because I didn't bend it all the way back. This time the artwork was done by Ed McGuinness, and I enjoyed the artwork. It's a much improved from John Romita Jr.'s artwork. And now from this point on, in case you guys did not know, we are going to be getting rotating artists on the book. You're going to get artists like Patrick Gleason on there. You'll also get John Romita on there. But the artwork in this issue was actually really good. So what was this story about? Well, this was more of a celebratory issue of the character of Spider-Man and his rogues gallery, right? Peter Parker's having a birthday party, And for once, he actually shows up late, but then the Parker luck kicks in, and you wind up getting Dr. Octopus arms coming in, and you basically get the Sinister Six, but they're all meshed together to become this Sinister Adaptoid. And the Sinister Adaptoid is trying to find out who a Spider-Man is and whatnot, and who what the character represents. And in this issue, you actually get to see the heart of Spider-Man and the true representation of the character, okay? And that's why I appreciate it from it. You also get to see some of the most classic villains in Spider-Man's history, like Kraven, Dr. Octopus. You wind up seeing Electro. You wind up getting to see all of the Sinister Six, which was introduced very early on in Spider-Man's years. So that's what they celebrated here, and I really appreciate that. Now, if you're looking for some kind of tease or something that's to happen in the future of Spider-Man, you're not getting that here. But we get enough solicitations to find out what's going on. In fact, I'll leave a video at the end of this to let you guys know everything that is happening with the Amazing Spider-Man book. You kind of don't need that anymore. But by the time you wind up getting to the end of this book, the one thing I didn't see coming, and this was pretty cool, is that Peter's birthday was basically ruined by everything, but Felicia was there, and he gets to share a nice little kiss with old Felicia, and I really enjoyed that. Now, the one character that you did not see in the book was Mary Jane, but she's not really in the story right now. But you did get to see Jonah, you got to see was it Anne-Marie Marconi, that was in there. We get to see all kinds of different characters. And for what this was, I enjoyed it. Now, if maybe we were more into this new run, maybe they could have put something more at stake. But again, this was just celebrating the character. So I'm very curious to hear what you guys thought of The Amazing Spider-Man issue 6 and legacy numbering 900. Coming in at number 2, we have Iron Cat issue 2. I have a feeling that this book is totally under the radar because people see the name Iron Cat and they're like, what is this cheese whiz? We have a cat iron suit flying around trying to defeat Tony Stark. That is not the case, guys. This is more of a Black Cat comic. This is basically a volume 2 of the Black Cat volume written by Jed McKay. This is so good. And if you read the Spider-Man or Spider-Woman series drawn by Pierre Perez, you're going to love the artwork in this book. It is so well done. I love looking at every page, every facial expression. The colors are bright and vibrant. Felicia looks gorgeous in this book, and this book really explores more of the history of Felicia's relationship to Mara Blake. And in the previous volume, you have gotten to see Black Cat, Felicia, save Manhattan, and in order to do that, she had to kill Black Fox. So in this issue, or in this volume, you learned that in the past, that Black Fox, this was not his only student. He also taught Tamara Blake, and she holds a grudge against Felicia, thinking that she killed Felicia, and she really stole the Iron Cat suit to go after Felicia. And so you wound up getting to see the differences of the two characters in this book. There is Tamara right there, and you get to see why Felicia is a superior cat burglar than this character right here. And it's because, believe it or not, Felicia knows how to have fun. While the other girl, Tamara, is just way too serious and it's going to get her caught one day. So it was really interesting to see how the two characters were different, how Felicia operates when she is, in a job and whatnot. And you also get to see these two share their first kiss with each other, which I thought was super surprising. And then you wind up getting to see Tamara on how she actually steals that Iron Cat suit. Here is the first kiss that they shared with each other. And I love this. I think it gets to the meat of the character. It gets to explore the character a little bit more, besides Black Cat being Peter Parker's on again, off again love interest, a burglar or bad guy, good guy, but it gets into the character's soul a little bit more, and I really like that. And again, the visual on this book is so awesome. And this is a great book, man. This is definitely an underrated comic book. I say go out there, guys. Pick this up. You might be able to still find issue 1 out there. I'm telling you, you will enjoy this, especially if you are a Black Cat fan. All right, guys. So my number 1 book so far is Detective Comics. This is issue 1062. I don't know if this will hold out all the way through the entire comic book week, as I still have many books left to read. But my first impression with Ron V's Detective Comics is very good, very dark. And I found myself interested with these different types of characters that were introduced in this book. And I loved seeing Batman or Bruce kind of struggle out on the field, and we don't know quite what's wrong with him at this point. And I'll show you as we go along in this comic book. But when we open it up, this is a very dark and gritty comic book, and I enjoyed each and every page that, you know, was displayed to me here, especially this opening pages right here. So well done, right? And right from the start, though, we wound up getting to see Batman, who is doing battle against Bruno Maroney, but he's something much different. As you can see here, he is like some kind of zombie or some kind of weird creature, and we get to see Batman definitely struggle against him. He finds himself slower, he feels like his heart is going to explode, and if it wasn't for Talia interfering, he could have possibly lost this fight. And it was quite interesting. So right away, this spooks Bruce Wayne, and he winds up going home to his lair, and he starts running all these crazy tests on himself. And this is what I found most, found most interested in the comic book, because I wanted to know what was wrong with Bruce Wayne as he's running, doing like these types of stress tests and making sure his blood pressure is normal and making sure he's not infected with anything. And he's doing all these tests, talking to Nightwing, and they're just having a conversation with each other, and he's making sure that Bloodhaven is okay. And I really liked that. I thought it was pretty cool. And they talked about this mysterious like puzzle box that he came across, and he's trying to figure out what it is. In the meantime, we wind up having these, I guess these are new characters. If they're not, just let me know in the comments below. But we get to see these characters by the name of Azrin and, what is it? Yeah, Azrin, who has to go to Gotham. I don't quite know what for. And then we get to see his brother, I don't know what he does, claim territory in Gotham or whatnot, but he didn't like how things were being dealt, and he had other people killed. So yeah, it was pretty cool. I mean, I like that. But then again, you go back to Bruce Wayne in this book, and you get to see something struggling within him, as you get to see this bat come out of him while he is dreaming. And then what woke him up was this music box, and he found out that puzzle box is a music box. So there's something within Bruce that is, you know, that he's struggling with inside, and I don't know what that quite is yet. If you guys have any ideas in the comments below, let me know. But I found myself more intrigued with what's going on with Bruce, Batman, than these new villains that are making their appearance here in the book. I don't know if that's all tied together, but it has me very intrigued. It seems something a little bit different. I loved how dark it is, and I love when a comic puts all those, you know, question marks in my head, and I'm trying to figure out what was going on, because that's what Detective Comics is. That's what it should be. It's a mystery, right? And I really enjoyed it. So if you're on the fence because you didn't like Tamaki's run, give this one a try. I think you will like it. So there you guys have it. Hopefully you enjoyed this week's episode of After the Poll. It's definitely been a little while since I brought this series to you. It'll be coming back weekly very shortly. And of course, guys, I promised you before content about Spider-Man. So here is the newest video that I brought to my viewers when it comes to the future of your favorite webhead. So of course, guys, as always, keep buying, keep collecting, but most importantly, always read your comics. Guys, thank you so much. I'll see you real soon. Bye.